It is 8:30, folks. It is that time once again. It's time for the Tom Lacey Sports Hour. And here's your host, the one and only Tom Lacey.
Good morning, everyone. We have two excellent guests and a ton of comments for both these individuals. And the guest is Tom Curle, the former Plattsburgh State coach, my former roommate, former teammate, and he's going to be with one of his best friends in college and a true leader himself, Rod McCorvey, who did over 25 years in the Air Force, I think. He'll tell more about it. And he also, I'm sure he was in Desert Storm. I'm not sure if he was in Afghanistan or the others, but he'll explain everything on that. And they'll be calling in with a conference call. Unfortunately, we can't take phone calls, but you can write as quick as you want to my messenger, or you can just, it would be as far as text messages, 518-569-8200. Just text me something and I'll put it on. Like I said, we have a ton of comments, some kind of funny, and Tom will have to decide whether he wants to answer some of those. So we'll see. And let's see if this is them right here. Might be. Good morning. Is this Coach Curle and Mr. McCorvey?
This is Rob McCorvey.
Okay. Is Tom on there with you?
No, not yet. He should be dialing in shortly.
Okay. All right. Is there a way that you guys have a conference call? I mean, were you both on there together, or I'm not sure how that's.
I'll try to add him. Sure.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Unfortunately,
okay.
It's.
Okay.
Well, I think he's on the other line. How are we going to do this? We might have a problem here.
Well,
can't do two at a time. I think we're going to have to have him call you.
Just have him. If he could hear us or so, just have him hang up.
Okay, I'll do that. All right, yeah. Put Tom on.
All right, hang on.
Hold on, Rod. Sorry. It's early there, huh?
Oh, he hung up. Okay, so the other one hung up, but he's still on.
They want to do it like a conference call, so I'm conferencing you in.
Okay.
And because they can't take two calls at the same time, apparently.
Well, yeah. This is perfect. Tom, are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Okay. Well, I already introduced both of you, and I'll do it again. Rod, what time is it there? Where you're in Colorado, right? What time are you?
It's 6:30, but just like an old soldier, we always answer the call.
Okay. That's great. And Tom even took his golf day off, which is amazing, to be on the show, and I really appreciate that. Are the courses still wet there in Florida?
Yeah, they're wet, but it's cart path only, so you can't drive the cart path onto the fairways. But so it's pretty good. We got a lot of rain, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah, we've been getting a ton here too. I think we're getting the tail end of what is it, Hurricane Debbie, I think?
Debbie,
yeah. So I'm going to start off with I introduced you guys already, and let me do it again. Tom Curle is the all-time leading winningest coach at Plattsburgh State. He also has the most people to graduate, which is that's the ideal thing for college coaches, is your players to graduate, and he did that phenomenally. He also has he was a great recruiter, excellent coach, and he's done so many other things too for the community. And And Rod, I need to find out a little bit more. Were you in the Air Force or Army? I'm not really sure.
The mighty U.S. Army.
U.S. Army, okay. And also, how many years did you do?
I did 27 years total.
Okay.
Active military service.
Okay. What battles or were you in Desert Storm? Were you in Afghanistan, or were you in any of those places?
Yes, I was in Desert Storm. 2 tours in Iraq.
Wow.
If you consider the Bosnia War, Bosnia and Herzegovina type of scenario, I was over there towards the tail end of the conflict or so, and we did a lot of good work over there trying to keep the peace, keep those factions from killing each other.
Did you have any close calls? Any really close calls? Where?
We had a mortar attack that landed just right outside our sleeping facility.
Wow.
Protocol calls for all your windows to be sandbagged, and that kind of absorbed most of the blast or so. We did have one guy get injured or so. But it was, right outside our sleeping quarters, like 10 meters, 10 yards or so. And besides, waking me up in the middle of the morning, pissing everybody off or so. But that was pretty much the extent of it as far as close calls or so.
I think people really appreciate what you've done, and you'll see some of the comments that I have from some of your former teammates of how much they appreciate what you did for our country. So I'm going to start off with the questions that I asked you guys, and we'll start off with Tom. I want to know your definition of leadership.
Well, I think leadership has a lot to do with setting a direction that you want your group to go, and then working hard to get there, and setting the tone for that. And I think it helps a great deal when you set that tone, you set that vision of where you want to take the group, and they see you as the person that can get them there by your actions, by your words, by your deeds, and to make sure that your leadership is always trying to take them, and sometimes that requires you to be difficult or tough on them at times, but usually it requires you your leadership has to be positive for the most part, and I think that they have to believe that you can take them where you ultimately want the team to go. And it's always, leadership is always team first, and sacrifices that you have to make as an individual will dictate your leadership style, and tell the team that it's important that they follow. So that's I think the other thing is that from my standpoint is you have to have a central focus, and mine was to try to be an educator and using basketball as the vehicle by which we were going to make sure we reached our goals.
I know one thing, Coach Curle, is the thing that I think made you really successful is you gave people second chances, and a lot of coaches don't do that, and sometimes even third chances. People make mistakes, as you know, and you always gave them a chance, and they always came around for you. So that's definitely a feather on your cap for that.
Yeah, I'd like to say always. It didn't always come around, but that went towards my recruiting philosophy, which was very simple. I wanted players they had to be a really good player, a really good person, and a really good student. They had to have 2 of those 3, as long as one of them was a really good player. So
sure.
I think that.
Yeah, that's funny.
I understand. Okay, Rod, what's your definition of leadership?
Leadership is pretty much harping on what Coach Tom just said. Just setting a good example, especially when nobody's looking type stuff. Doing the right thing, being punctual, and just being the rah-rah type guy to lead men and women to do things that they think they could never accomplish.
Mm-hmm. You must have had a leader while you were in the military that you really looked up to.
Yes, I had several commanders who went on, military commanders who went on to do great things. So when I was in the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, we had 2 great leaders who took us to Iraq and brought us back for the most part safe, although we lost several individuals, but that happens in war. And McMaster's is one, General McMaster.
That's nice.
He was my regimental commander who went on to be President Trump's on his staff type stuff, and before he got fired like all the other ones or so. But he was a great leader, great a communicator, and a great warrior.
Thank God we had people like that. For we have the toughest, best military in the world, as you know. So I'm going to go on with something else. I got to know how you both met, and we'll always start with Tom first, if that's okay.
Sure.
Well, I started out my college career at Elmira College, and I was there for 2 years. I just wasn't a good fit for me, and I decided to transfer. And Coach Law saw me playing in the summer at the Ken Jones basketball camp. I was as just a counselor game, and asked me if what I was doing. I said, "Well, I'm looking to leave Elmira," and so he recruited me, and I went up to Plattsburgh. And I got there about a week early, and I really kind of just wandered around for a week, not really meeting anybody or anything. And but once school started, we had a lot of competitions sometimes with the hockey team and other things. And Rod and I, we kind of just would compete against each other a little bit in some of those things, mile races, 800s, and weightlifting, and we just felt there was a kindred spirit there where we both felt. I felt as though, man, he's just a really, really good person, a really good, great guy, just humble, and I mean, even now, Rod was a Chief Warrant Officer 4. I mean, that's a really high rank that you don't get by accident. You earn it, and he doesn't mention that at all. I mean, his humility is and that mixed with my arrogance probably made opposites attract, I guess. So, so we just developed developed a real good close friendship based upon our backgrounds and also our commonality through basketball. We both wanted to be part of a great team, and it was Rod and all of our teammates. We had a kindred spirit, a real close friendship. But particularly Rod was just a person I really admired and looked up to as a leader when I was playing at Plattsburgh State. Okay,
Rod, do you recall remembering when you met Coach Curle Tom Curle for the first time?
I'm pretty sure it was at the what they call the Memorial Hall, where we always play those pickup games and stuff.
Pickup games, huh?
And as a teammate, so he came on and joined the team, and of course, we had to earn our stripes or so, and through tough competition and beating each other up basically. But Tom and I go back. We also won the water polo championship one year, intramural type stuff. And,
wow!
And just imagine, we had a great time, and we won that, which is one of the feather in my cap, so that I'll never forget at Plattsburgh. And we just been through a lot together as teammates, relationships, and and fellow teammates or so, and the long bus rides, and he was always had a gift of gab, which I think helped him recruit and win over parents to get some of the better athletes throughout the state and that's pretty much how I met Tom, and we've been friends ever since.
Yeah, that's so nice of you to have traveled to his induction into the New York State Hall of Fame all the way from Colorado. And
I wouldn't have missed it.
I know. And, Tom, there was so many friends there. It was almost like a wedding where you have to kind of give people, talk to this person. And it, it was probably difficult for him to really let you know how much he really meant to you. And, that's the way it is at things like that. And I know for a fact that Tom thinks the world of you. There's no doubt. So I remember that. He couldn't give everyone the time, but he did his best, though. And it's so we're all so proud of the fact that he's the first Plattsburgh State person into the New York State Basketball Coaches Association and New York Hall of Fame. It's unbelievable, it really is. So. Tell me both about your upbringing. Tom first, always.
Well, I was born in Waterloo, New York, grew up in Geneva, New York, in a place called Charters Homes, and it was, I had a really great upbringing in that I was brought up in a very diverse neighborhood. Some people call it a tough neighborhood, but it was, just a place I loved growing up because I just had so many fond memories of it. But then we moved across the street. There was into a house that when we lived in Charters Homes, we thought it was haunted. And then I'm 12 years old. They said, "That's where you're moving to." I said, "Well, I'm not moving into the haunted house. I'm staying in Geneva." But in moving across the street, I changed school districts. And in changing school districts, I went from Geneva schools to Waterloo schools, and to me, that was a real benefit to me because I left it wasn't a tough environment by any stretch, but I left an environment where people were not always making the best decisions. I went to Waterloo and I started hanging around John Schweitz, and that gave me a real focus on basketball can be something that besides like a game that you play with friends, it can be something that can lead to an education, it can lead to a college career, it can lead to coaching. And so I think that move to Waterloo really took me from loving basketball to having a passion for the hard work that it takes to be a good basketball player. So I think that that move really, even though the house was haunted, I
was there once, I was at the haunted house once, and no, you invited me there, and it was, I don't think it was haunted, but I didn't have.
No, it wasn't haunted. It turned out that it wasn't haunted, but the first thing we had to do was you had to beat back the mice and rats before we could really call it a home. So. But it became a great family home for us, and it was a good move. It was a good move for my family and me.
Rod, tell me about your upbringing. I'm not really sure where you were from. Is it Middletown?
Yeah. Well, let me tell that story.
Okay.
I basically grew up in Pensacola, Florida, as a young kid. And I moved to New York when I was in just leaving the 10th grade, kicking and screaming because I had just made the varsity basketball team, had a girl that I thought was my friend or so. And so we moved to New York, and I think 1975. And I went to Peekskill High School, and I also went to another school called Hendrick Hudson.
Yep.
And pretty much in the same area, but it was called Montrose, where that was located. And attended both high schools, played basketball, football, and ran track and field type stuff. And after graduation in '78, went to Plattsburgh State University up in the North Country, and did my 4 years playing basketball, attending school, trying to be a good student.
You tried hard. You
graduated in 1982 with the class.
You studied hard.
John, can I interject something there?
Yes, definitely.
Rod said he was trying to be a good student, and throughout my entire career, I would always put Rod McCorvey as an example of doesn't matter where you start, it's how hard you work to get where you're going as a student. No student that I've ever seen or coached ever worked as hard as Rod did. I mean, we had actually a surprise birthday party for Rod, and because we were such good friends, it was my responsibility to get him there. And finally, I had to say, Rod, there was about 30 people waiting to say happy birthday to you. You got to get out of the study hall, and you got to come with me. And Rod said, okay, I'll give you an hour. You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because you just would not leave that. He was always in the study area. If you wanted to know where Rod was, you could go to a specific spot in the library, and he would be there. I mean, he was constantly studying, because it wasn't that he was trying to be a good student. He was an excellent student because of his work ethic and how hard he worked at it. Well, I would tell people that my whole career. I would tell people, if you want to,
you told me that
you want to
once.
graduate, you can graduate, but you got to follow this example. And I would give Rod's example.
I appreciate that, Tom. I was not the greatest student because moving from Florida, who had different education standard, to New York, which was a lot more challenging and demanding. So I always felt that I was kind of behind the curve, or the power curve, as far as my peers or so, and that forced me to, if I wanted to graduate, to work hard and put the time in to make that extra effort to try to graduate and succeed. So
I really hope a lot of people are listening to this, because that's pretty neat.
Rod actually told me one time, he said, Tom, what takes you 1 hour might take me 3. So please respect that and let me get my work done.
Wow.
So, so I had to learn to respect that,
And he'd be studying on the trips too, like to Buffalo or wherever, with the light on in the bus, and probably, most likely.
He's still the hardest working student I've ever met.
That's pretty neat.
I wouldn't say all that on the long bus rides, of course, after playing music and playing, so we all fell asleep for the most part, and got our beauty rest on.
Okay, tell me, starting with Tom, about your present families. Obviously, I know all of them, and you have such a great family. You really do, and I have the utmost respect for Anne Marie, who is you overachieved there, just to let you know. But she's the best. So, but just talk about your present families.
Well, I've got 3 children. John is the oldest boy. He lives out in Seattle, doing very well with his wife Miranda and their 2 daughters, who are 4 and 2. Dana and Wade live right up there in Plattsburgh. We're blessed with 3 beautiful grandchildren.
Definitely.
So I've got 5 wonderful grandchildren, and that's like I said, a real blessing. And then my youngest daughter Marley just got married in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. I was actually able to spend a little time with Rod before that wedding, and
really,
and that was really nice. And and Marley married a wonderful young man.
Definitely, yep.
Stevie Van Sicklen. So, just one of the things you want for your children is you want them obviously to be happy and successful, and you want them to be and great parents and great spouses and that type of thing. And we're really happy with that our children all met wonderful people to spend their lives with. But they'll, I think, in turn, be great parents as well. So I think that it's family's doing well. So thanks, Tom. I appreciate you asking.
Yeah. How did Marley get her feistiness? Definitely, I know where that came from. Her dad.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, Rod, same question.
Yeah, I have married twice. My first
That's
wife,
fine.
Michelle. Michelle was my first wife, and with her, she blessed me with two beautiful young men, boys at that time. And after that marriage it ended, I married Anita in here, who I met in Colorado Springs, and with that marriage, she blessed me with a girl who was considered, well, as my stepdaughter. She already had it
That's
from her
fine.
previous marriage also, who was Kayla, and my boys is Roderick and Jarrett. And so we're Anita and I are a blended family. Again, we have three wonderful young adults, and my daughter Kayla blessed us with three grandchildren:
Gosh.
Elijah, Xavier, and Anna. And they just recently moved to the old Fort Benning area in Georgia, because my son-in-law is in the Army. And my two sons, Roderick and Jarrett, are my oldest son is in the Air Force, and my youngest son is in the Army. And so all my kids are still affiliated with the military, and we quite proud of those young individuals. Or so.
It's because of your leadership too. Is probably why they're in the military. To both of you, it must be great having grandchildren. It must be so great. And I have to say this:
It is.
having a girl is, I think one of the best. But boys are good too. I'm not putting down boys, but the girls will always be, your favorite. And I don't know favorite. Maybe I'm not you. That's not. But comments on that? You disagree, Tom?
You don't have favorites.
I know.
Yeah,
I didn't mean that.
Favorites.
I meant to. I was trying to use another word, but I'm sure there's another word that I could use. But so okay, let's get into a couple other things. Tom, when did you realize you wanted to be a basketball coach?
Well, I remember when I was 14, maybe 14 or 15 years old. I had a first cousin that was ended up going to Cornell. He was a few years older. He was at Cornell, and he almost wanted to have a family intervention there. And all this kid ever thinks about is basketball. You can't make a living in basketball, and we need to start getting him focused on something else. You know what I mean? And he was right, because I just love basketball so much that's all I wanted to do with that. I mean, that was. But I also had he didn't realize I was also working all the time. I was working in the summers blacktopping, learning skills there, doing all those types of things. And I had a work ethic that I developed through basketball that translated to other areas. So I went to I was going to be. My thought was I was just going to be a high school teacher and coach. From an early age, I thought that I would be a good educator, and so I got a job teaching history in Mount Morris,
Nice.
New York, and just went over to pick up basketball at Geneseo, and Tom Pope remembered me from playing at Plattsburgh, and he asked me if I wanted to be his assistant.
Gosh.
And
just right
so
there? I mean,
just right there. He said, "Can you come by and see me tomorrow?" And I stopped by after school the next day to see him. And he said, "Would you like to be the assistant coach?" And I remember him saying it was just the biggest job you'll have is to go get me some players, and we'll win. So right away, my focus was on recruiting, because I worked with Tom Pope, and went out and we went from that first year. As an assistant, I think we won 5 games. By the time I left 4 years later, we were the ECAC champions, and we're 21-5 because we had some really good players that came in. So that kind of gave me my focus on coaching. That maybe I can go from high school to college. And I remember thinking that I was going to be the JV coach at Mount Morris that year, so I had to either be JV coach or be an assistant at Geneseo. It was I was a really big decision. And,
Sure.
I went with the assistant college coach and then coached the junior high basketball team that year at Mount Morris. So it was through my role as a teacher that I became a coach.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty neat. I'm trying to. The question I just had for you was about Coach Pope. You have a lot of good things always to say about him. And who recruited Scott Fitch? Was that you?
I recruited Scott Fitch.
Wow.
Yes. The year, and I met Scott at the Big Man's Camp in Oneonta.
Mm-hmm.
And I was working with Mike Dean and
Don Flewelling.
And Don Flewelling and Dan Thies. But Mike Dean, Dan Thies, and I did the guards. We coached the guards at the Big Man Camp.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I met Scott Fitch and really recruited him. So, Tom Pope didn't like that sometimes. He'd say, everybody wants credit for the good ones.
Oh, gosh.
But it was when you're recruiting, it's always the head coach really that finishes the recruiting process. But I certainly did start it with Scott Fitch.
Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to remember his name, from Ricky Taylor. You recruited him too, right?
Yeah, Ricky was the first. I recruited him to Geneseo, and then when I got to Elford, Ricky's the first person I ever recruited. He's another example, like a Rod McCorvey, that worked really hard as a student. Then when he got done playing for me, he played for Brockport. I tried to send him to Plattsburgh, but Ricky was only 5'4", and I was told he was too small. And then when they played Plattsburgh, Ricky used to torch Plattsburgh. And when he was at Brockport, he used to torch Plattsburgh and glare at the bench the entire time. And Larry Cowan called me and said, "Tom, man, this kid's just mean. He's just a mean kid." I said, "No, he's a competitor." I said, "He will never forget that you didn't want him." But he was an all-conference player for the SUNYAC too. And after that, he played for the Washington Generals, the team that plays against the Globetrotters, and then he played for the Globetrotters.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty neat.
But the thing with Ricky was when he was traveling the world, all over the world he traveled through basketball, and they gave him a per diem of a certain amount of money, and then they paid him too. So he would have his entire check sent back into the bank. He never used it. He just lived off the per diem. Mm-hmm. And he told me, he said, "Coach," he goes, and then I'd save money through the per diem too. He said, "A box of Cheerios and a pizza, that'll last 3 or 4 days." And now Ricky is now getting ready to retire as a teacher in Southampton, mm-hmm. Long Island, and he owns at least 16 properties in the Hamptons.
Unbelievable. Wow. Yeah.
Very impressive.
Yes.
Yeah, because Rod, he's the one guy. He reminded me of you in terms of.
I met that gentleman at the induction, the Hall of Fame induction.
Yeah, he's a very successful person, and that you couldn't predict how his life was going to go. Even when he was teaching, he had a parking business. He would park cars at these billionaire parties in the Hamptons. And he would use his teaching salary to buy his next property and live off the money that he was making from the parking business.
Wow.
Early in his career.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're going to move on. You probably both have different answers to this, but you're starting with Rod on this one. Your best win as a college player, is there anything that really stands out, like any game that maybe you shouldn't have won and you guys just put it on them? Albany State might be one. Well, we never beat Potsdam.
We never beat Potsdam, but I have to say my freshman year when we went across the Lake Champlain and defeated Vermont. So as a freshman, I think I was a freshman, and we just picked up Kevin Baldwin and Paul Eisman, and of course Danny Diaz and the rest of the gang. And they were a D1 program, and we, of course, D3, and we went over there, and from the start, so we started dominating that game, and of course they tried to come back, but we pulled it out, and I think that was the best game of my career at Plattsburgh State.
Nice. Tom, same question.
Well.
There's a ton of.
I don't remember my playing career that much, so that should tell you something about it. But I will say that with no comparison whatsoever, my best victory as a coach was beating the University of Rochester at the buzzer when Anthony Williams hit about a 45-foot jump shot.
Wow.
And it was a jump shot too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll never forget. He's coming at me, and he crossed over half court and just did a crossover move. And I looked in his eyes and said, "He's gonna freaking make this." And just from half court, he just pulled up, and just even on video, the ball leaves the screen, and then the light around the backboard goes on, and the ball comes back into the screen and swished it. So that game, even is. By far, you beat University of Rochester in the NCAA game. That's a big win. And it was also the first NCAA win in the school's history. So, I'm sorry, that's not true. It was also it was the first win in my career for the NCAA tournament. And,
definitely wasn't your last either.
No, it wasn't. But but that game in particular. Really, I felt like propelled the program. So, but also, I'll never forget the team did a dog pile, and out sprinting out from the crowd. Here comes Marley jumping on the dog pile. My youngest daughter.
How old was she?
That's funny.
That's the feistiness in her.
I think she had to be like 11 or 12, maybe 10. I'm not sure. I can't remember how old she was, but you could see her flying out of the crowd with no, So, but it was. I don't remember as a player.
I could tell you what it is. Your best win as a college player when you beat me 4 games straight 1-on-1. That's probably. Yeah, and kicked my butt too. I'm not kidding you. I mean, he just got in my head defensively. He is so underrated as a player. He really is. Always has been, and I always enjoyed playing with him after that. Okay, let's move on to something else. Do you guys stay in touch with many of your teammates? I mean, as much as you can. It's difficult with families and jobs and stuff. And
as much as I have some of them Facebook friends, or so we communicate. And but for the most part, seem like everybody moved to Florida, and they trying to recruit me down there, and I ain't quite ready yet. Maybe one of these days or so, when I can't tolerate the cold anymore, consider it. But Anita and I loving Colorado. We're loving the scene, and hopefully when we retire pretty soon, we'll make a decision. But as far as keeping in touch, I have some guys that I kind of stay in touch with for the most part, but a lot of them I lost contact with.
Yeah. So being the coach of Plattsburgh State, I was able to be the home base for a lot of alumni and and maintain contact with them. You know what I mean? So I've been really happy about connecting, reconnecting, and a lot of former teammates. You know what I mean? So I'd like to think I do a good job of maintaining those relationships, and I'm always happy when I can connect with former teammates, but not just former teammates, but former players as well. And I really enjoy being the the conduit between a lot of different generations of basketball players at Plattsburgh State. So, so even guys that didn't play for me would contact me when we were doing really well. And through Plattsburgh State basketball, I've developed a lot of very, very close friendships and been able to maintain a lot of them with former teammates. And I really want to mention some, but I don't want to mention any because then I leave somebody out. You know what I mean? But
don't worry.
I certainly have some really close relationships with a lot of former teammates, and I think now that a lot of us are retired and so forth, I think it gives us an opportunity to connect even more. So, that's Plattsburgh State basketball has really been a real benefit to me in terms of maintaining those relationships.
Yeah, you're going to be off my list if you keep it up. I'm just kidding. Okay, Travis Gorham said this. Tom Curle is the greatest leader of men that I know. As a father, husband, friend, coach, mentor, and leader, he exemplifies excellence. And he's listening right now, if you want to comment on that, Tom.
That's what a great compliment. And, Travis is one of those guys that I recruited when I was in Connecticut. And he played for me in Connecticut. And when I recruited him, he said, "I'm going to bring you a championship, Coach." And then I left that school. I left Post University, Takeo Post, it was called at the time. And Travis left too. And so for the next 3 years, I was still trying to recruit Travis. And finally, he came to Plattsburgh. And I'll never forget the first year we won. We beat SUNY IT. And Travis said, "Coach, I told you I was going to bring you a championship." And 6 years ago, whenever it was. And he and his teammates, Anthony Williams and Antoine, that whole crew, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Again, I don't want to mention names.
I know.
But that whole crew, they brought 3 consecutive championships to Plattsburgh State, and so Travis was clearly one of the reasons for that. You know what I mean? I remember we were playing one game against Oswego, and Travis just was. There was a kid on Oswego that we recruited that went to Oswego. And Anthony Williams told him before the game, we're gonna run this play called high every time, and Travis is gonna kill you all game." And he did. And after the game, the assistant coach from Oswego said, "Man, Travis was like a 6th grade kid in 3rd grade gym class."
He was tough, and he had so much heart. Let's get on with Steve Holmes. He says, "I transferred to Plattsburgh State in 1981 and played on the basketball team. Rod McCorvey and Tom Curle were the captains and leaders of our team and very good players. Rod was athletic and a tremendous rebounder and defender. More than that, he was a great teammate in person. My lasting memory of Rod is that he never called me anything but Stevie Holmesy." You got his name wrong. "Tom Curle was a very good all-around player. He did everything well. The thing that impresses me the most was he was dealing with some debilitating injuries and playing through them quite effectively through his example to lead us." So that's pretty nice of Steve. He's listening too. Any comments to him?
Well, I appreciate the compliment, Stevie, and
Stevie.
Always remember you by that. But it makes me feel good to be recognized like that by a former teammate, and thanks very much.
Mm-hmm. I have another one here. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Just from Steve saying that is a great compliment too, because he was in his own right an outstanding coach. He won SUNYAC titles with Geneseo as well.
Sweet 16 he went to.
Highly respectable coach and teammate.
Okay, this is from Paul Glotis. "I've had the pleasure of knowing, playing with, and privilege of having Tom Curle and Rod McCorvey as dear friends for over 40 years. 2 shining examples of the kind of people who have roamed the Plattsburgh State campus as students and athletes and made contributions back to their country and community. I'm grateful to know them. They are both gentlemen and outstanding people. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize both these gentlemen on your show. And Goose, you know, he never forgets you guys either. So
No.
he's listening too. He wanted to call, but
yeah, Goose, Rod, you are always a good example of a kid that came, joined the team with seemed like limited skills and blossomed into an awesome player and teammate. So to the point where you dominated. By your work ethic. So, and I never forget how one game you had a busted ankle, and that thing was swollen the size of a grapefruit almost or so, and you could just see the pain in your face or so. And they strapped you up with the tape, and you went out there and played inspirational ball, and I never forget that. You know, somebody who's making the personal sacrifice through adversity and leading us to victory. So I never forget that. And awesome teammate that I had the privilege and pleasure of playing with and becoming a friend, a lifelong friend.
Yep.
To me, so.
Yeah. You know, I want to just add that, you know, Goose was an unbelievable player. I mean, he was back when we played, the weightlifting just started to become part of routine with basketball, and Goose was really dedicated to the weight room, and I think he was ahead of the curve in that regard. Excuse me, and that helped to make him a really strong. He was just a physical specimen, and he averaged over 20 points a game, -3 assists. Because once it went into the black hole, it didn't come back out.
Oh, that's true too.
but you know, Norm rightly wanted our offense to go through Paul Glotus because he was unstoppable down low. You know, so but he was a great player and a great friend.
Yes, this is from Paul Einsman, and he says, Rod, thank you for your service. Enjoyed the time we spent as teammates and friends at Plattsburgh. And he said you left a lasting impression on him. He said, what do you like best about living in Colorado? And he said also he's going to be in Denver in December and would love to get together. He's listening as well.
Yeah, Paul. My door is always open in Colorado. We love it. Love the mountains, love the outdoor activities, a lot to see and do. There's not a lot of water like you're used to in Florida, but we do have some lakes and streams and stuff like that. But yeah, December, I'd love to see you. And Paul, you've always been one of my inspirations and a person I looked up to as a young player. You know, you always had that size or so, and to dominate down in the post and moves I ain't never seen before, and that taught me how to operate in the paint or so. I wasn't the biggest guy, but
you had a heart.
Taught me how to use your body to work in magic or so. And I never forget that day you came and rescued me when I had that little downtown incident.
Oh, okay.
So,
you don't have to get
I
into
would never forget that. So, and thank you so much.
There's always some downtown incidents, especially when the military was here. There seemed a little, in my opinion, a little bit of rivalry there sometimes. Maybe not. I could be wrong on that, but. And
we're not going to go with the downtown incidents, Tom.
No, we ain't going to do that. We ain't going to do that because that calls for cursing and we don't want to go there.
I'm not going to. And then Paul said to Tom, "Congrats on your induction into the New York State Hall of Fame. Well deserved. Great to see you and meet your lovely wife last month. What is your favorite beach in your favorite golf course in Florida?" And he said, "Stay in touch." Your favorite golf course.
Well, the one I live on, River Strand, is my favorite golf course because I get to golf it often, but it's a beautiful spot that, where I live right now. It's a really great golf course. My favorite beach is Anna Maria Island, so that's a beach that our family has gone to. My family has gone to since our kids were very, very little. It's Anna Maria Beach, Anna Maria Island is a special place for our family. So it's, but you know, so it's. I'm really enjoying living in Florida. You know, one of the things I did want to mention is the common denominator between all the people that you've mentioned and is Norm Law.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
and that's what there's a question next about that too. Let me get into that, okay?
Okay.
I think the best question would be how the experience with this is from Billy Stevens, with Plattsburgh and Coach Norm Law shaped your future decision-making with their career in coaching and the military. And if they could share a story about something they remember that did influence them in the future. But there's your, Tom, answer that one on Norm.
You know, Norm was I'll just tell you this story about Norm. He was always player first. You know, he wanted his players to succeed. He wanted to have he was a very intense coach. Norm was really intense. I think some of that was the time. I think Bobby Knight was kind of the model for coaching for all coaches, and Norm didn't back away from that. So, but just in terms of he really wanted you to succeed, and he really believed in his players, I think is what comes to mind. And when I getting ready to graduate, the registrar came back and said, "You need 2 PE credits." And I said, "Well, I played basketball when I was at Elmira. That counted for your PE credits." And so they said, "No, not here. You have to get the 2 PE credits." So I had to challenge out two PE courses. One was bowling, and I passed that test. I think you had to bowl a 150 to score, and I luckily I got. That's not easy. That's not easy to do, but I was focused. The other one was I challenged out a racquetball, and to challenge out a racquetball, you had to score 5 points against, or 10 points or something against Coach Law.
No.
And he beat me 15-10, 15-11, 15-10. And then he said, make sure you're here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And I went up, he signed the paperwork, he passed me, and then at 9 a.m. the next morning it was 15-0, 15-0, 15-0.
Oh, yeah.
He said, don't say I never did something for you.
Yeah. Rod?
And that, you know,
okay.
that helped me in coaching in that, you know, sometimes you just, you know, you have to put the players' education and what their goals are first, and that's the priority. And I'll never forget that he made that a priority for me to make sure I got that I graduated on time.
Rod, anything you'd like to add with Coach Law?
Just his intensity and holding you to a standard per se, and when he beat you down, he would always kind of lift you up after the beat down type stuff. And I would that kind of transition into my military service, where sometimes you got to be hard on people, but you always stroke them up and don't let them stay down. You kind of encourage them to get up and dust off and drive on.
I did call him, and he's listening right now, so he's listening to the answer. I did call Coach Law, and I gave him you can download the Wiry app, and he's definitely listened to the show.
Okay. Hi, Coach Law.
Yeah.
I hope I'll give you a call soon, Coach. Just to that's the other thing is that because of I was the coach. I think just keeping in touch with Coach Law has been really a positive thing for me as well. So.
Yeah, he definitely. The only thing he did wrong, he cut me. I'm just kidding. This is from Bob Emery, who Tom knows real well. He was the successful hockey coach at Plattsburgh State. And he said, it was a pleasure to work on the same athletic department as Tom Curle. I was truly impressed with his coaching style, so I'm impressed that I even had to speak to my team. You did that once, Tom? Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
What an
And I
impressive.
had Bob speak.
Oh, go ahead.
I had Bob speak to our team as well. You know what I mean? Because there's Bob used to always say there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know, and I would say that our coaching styles were quite different in terms of our approach to things sometimes. But we both respected each other's style of coaching because we knew it worked for us, and he was a great presenter of the first question you asked is leadership. And I wanted my team to know what his thoughts were on leadership, and I think it helped us a great deal when they heard him, because he really was prepared and focused on I'm not just going to come in unprepared to talk to somebody else's team. He had a PowerPoint presentation for them, and I was really impressed, you know, with his desire to help other teams at Plattsburgh State. He wanted all teams to succeed. Bob was a great team player in that regard. He wanted every team there to do well, and he used to say, you know, rising tide raises all boats, and he not only said that, he believed it and lived it. So it was great working with Bob.
Yeah, he also said he just didn't, meaning you, he just didn't have a coaching style and lead with it. He knew he had to change with each individual, and that's an ingredient that a lot of coaches, in my opinion, don't have, but the good ones do have, and you're one of the good ones. So, you know, he's so, you know, correct.
Bob had the same thing. I remember him telling me one time, he goes, I used to get a cramp in my foot because I'd have to kick people in the behind. He goes, now I'm getting a cramp in my shoulder because I got to put my arm around them and hug them all the time.
Yes. Rod, did you meet Curtis Smith at the induction? Did you get a chance to talk to? He just got inducted to the Hall of Fame. He's a great guy. Played for Coach Curle. Just wanted to know, but
I'm not sure. Yeah, I met so many people.
Yeah, I know.
And as you know, as you get older, you know, you forget your memory. You can't remember a lot of stuff or so. But I may have, but I'm not gonna confirm I did not, to be honest.
Well, here's what he wrote, and I think he was Tom's very first recruit when he got to Plattsburgh State. Is that true, Tom?
Yeah. His nickname is the Foundation, because he was the first person that committed to Plattsburgh State. Matter of fact, he committed the day of my press conference. There was a press conference, and I drove from Utica to Watertown to visit with Curtis, and then Watertown to Plattsburgh. And I forgot that Watertown was 3 hours from Plattsburgh. I was almost late for the press conference, but you know, that set the tone. Everybody was, Curle might be late, don't worry about it, he'll be here.
Here's what he said, and you know,
coming.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tom.
Curtis said, we are in a world with so many leaders with the title leadership. I'm blessed to have great mentors and leaders to get where I am at today. With that being said, there's only one Tom Curle, one of the best people that I've came into my life. I wouldn't have coached the game of basketball without this amazing human being. I go on, but it's always much more than basketball. Since our first conversation, we did more talking about family. I knew how good of a coach he was. He was the best coach ever for me, molded me on the court, being a father at a young age. In college, Jeremiah and I had the honor to break bread with his family for Thanksgiving. That's pretty neat. I'll never forget that moment. He took me to pick Jeremiah up, and then we went to enjoy amazing Thanksgiving. In my book, he's always been a class by himself. Thank you always for being a real leader and human being, Coach TC. The one and only, the foundation, he put. Yeah, that's so nice, isn't it?
It's really wonderful to hear, you know, and you know, every program does have to have a foundation of somebody that really believes in your leadership style and where you're trying to go, and just bring this full circle with leadership. Curtis bought in lock, stock, and barrel to the leadership that we were trying to provide, and to the vision that we had for the program, and continues. I mean, his son now plays for Plattsburgh State.
Yep.
Anthony Williams' son now plays for Plattsburgh State. And so that really tells you the buy-in that the players had. I mean, those are two examples of many of people that are really loyal to Plattsburgh State basketball and where we wanted to take it. And I'm really happy with Coach Blaine trying to perpetuate that and keep that going, and I believe he'll get it back to where we had it.
Yeah, he will too. I'm confident. Yeah. This is from Mark Flick. Rod, do you remember Mark Flick? I'm not sure if you do, but he does remember you. He said the main thing.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he said thank you for your service and doing the things that you did and overseas and protecting our country, and he's very proud. And what he said, he goes, what I like about Tom Curle is how he embraced being the coach of the Cardinals after graduation. Tom was always a leader on the court as a coach and player. He's tenacious and committed to winning. He understood the values of role players on his team. Everyone had the studs, but as a coach, Tom knew how to get different players in different situations to contribute to his team's success. That's very nice of Mark. So there's so many nice things, but there's some funny ones though. This is from Mike Thies. Ask them about their stellar career with the Buzzards intramural softball team. Do you remember that?
Well, yeah, I do. So,
Rod, do you remember?
I vaguely remember.
Tom, remind them that last game.
So I think we were in the championship game. I think we lost 2-1, and the way they scored their second run, Rod was playing catcher, and there was a play at the plate, and this guy came in and knocked the crap. I mean, he knocked Rod for a loop. Rod dropped the ball, and back then you could run over the catcher, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows me, man.
So now, I had a chance. Here I am in softball, no less. I mean, it's an embarrassing story for me. So, the classic, we're down 2-1, bases are loaded, and, the ball's coming up, and it had to hit a mat. Well, the ball went way over my head. It was like way over my head, seemingly a minute. Landed on the back, just barely touched the mat behind me. It was strike 3, and the game was over. So I struck out with the bases loaded.
The ball hit
down
the mat.
2-1. I could have been the hero, and I could have been the goat. I immediately dropped the bat and just started running. My teammates chased after me and started beating me down. And Rod was like, "How can you strike out? How can you strike out in softball?" I said,
swing.
Yeah, and I said, man, at least I didn't get night trained.
I'll never forget that when you said it. I was right there, and Rod chased after you.
Yeah, that was a lot of fond memories, though.
Gosh.
So night train became kind of a catchphrase for a long time.
Yep. Steve wanted to add one thing. He always said that Rod would eat his Doritos all the time, and you would take his Doritos, and he just wanted to remind you that you shouldn't have done that because he did it all the time.
It wasn't always me.
Oh, okay. Tom, you don't have to answer this one, really, but Mark McIntyre is kind of a funny dude. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
And he goes, I have a question for TC. And no need to answer this, but no one will even know what you're talking about. With the Olympics going on and all the attention on track and field, I know you did some coaching of high school track and field. Can you speak on the importance of taking care of the baton? You don't have to, you don't have to answer that.
All right.
Yeah. We were young. Don't even worry about that.
Well, people may want to know the kind of characters we're dealing with here.
Well, we were young.
Yeah. We were young, but I forgot I was a head coach at MAI, and you were an assistant at St. John's, and we came down to the last thing, and I misplaced the baton, couldn't find the baton. Asked you one of yours, and you said you didn't have any extra ones, And I tried to go out and get a stick and say we could use a stick. And so we ended up blowing you guys away in the relay, but it didn't count because we didn't have a legal baton. And come to find out later, you had a bag full of them. And I said, no, you're not getting one.
Unfortunately, 2 Catholic schools, and I can't believe I lied. And
no honor among thieves.
No, we're out to win. We didn't care. And at the time, Tom was my roommate, and I think I told him right away, and I think he got me in the hardest headlock ever and made me say I give, which was a tough headlock. I'm not kidding you. So we're about to close up. Any closing comments from each of you? Let's start with Rod.
I just appreciate the time and at Plattsburgh State University for a young kid who had Southern roots, so I had a chance to really appreciate the diversity. Back in Florida, my little small world is either you were black or white type stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Plattsburgh State, you had people of all nationalities, races, and genders, and that really opened my mind to a broader, perspective on life type stuff. And I enjoy and appreciate all the friendships that I was able to make and maintain over the years or so. And overall, I was blessed by everyone's presence that I met.
Mm-hmm. That's so nice of you. And I love what Tom said about your studying habits, because I know for a fact, you really worked really hard. And I love the fact that you mentioned diversity, because, as you know, the Air Force Base also brought a lot of diversity to our area. You had, every nationality there as well. So. But Tom?
Well, thanks for putting this together, Tom. You're doing a great job with this radio. I mean, everybody knows you got a face built for radio, so it's really appreciate that you're doing this. No, but in all honesty, this has been great to reconnect and stay connected to Plattsburgh through basketball and through my friendships that I developed as a player and coach. So, I really appreciate you inviting Rod and I to join you today, and if for those that are listening, thank you very much for keeping Plattsburgh a home away from home for me at this point in my life. So thank you, everybody, and look forward to seeing all my former teammates and former players at the next venue.
Okay, thank you both so very much. Tom, get back on that golf course if you can. So. See you guys. I'll see you around. All right. Thanks.
All right. See you later.
Bye-bye.
I have a whole bunch of stuff. Take a break. Okay.
All right. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back with more on the Tom Lacey Sports Hour right here on Hometown Radio, 1340 WIRY.
At Facette Realty, our phones are ringing off the hook. Buyers are searching, but there's just not enough inventory. Are you thinking of selling your home? Now is the perfect time. List with one of our experienced agents and take advantage of the high demand. Our skilled team will help you get the best price for your property. We provide comprehensive real estate services in Clinton, Essex, and Franklin counties. Visit FacetteRealty.com or call us at 518-324-4500 today. Don't wait. A well-qualified buyer is already looking for a home like yours.
Okay, I hope you enjoyed that show with Coach Tom Curle and Rod McCorvey, who represented our country in all sorts of battles, and Tom, who was arguably one of the best coaches in New York State. And, even though he was my roommate, I think you'd get a lot of people that would say that. But some things I want to add on my own, and I recently did an article on Hal Cohen, and it's going to be in the Watertown Times, but I think there's a paper in Canton as well that article will be in there, and if you have a chance to read that, I've been doing some freelance writing. And I'm also doing a freelance article on Plattsburgh High School, believe it or not, and I called Dave Archer, the president of the Basketball Coaches Association of New York, and I asked him what high school has the most college basketball coaches, head basketball coaches, for maybe the past 25 years or 30 years, and it's Class B. And he said there was one that had 3, but believe it or not, Plattsburgh High School has 5. And so I'm writing an article on that, and I interviewed all 5 of them, and I also interviewed one player from each team, and I'll hopefully have that done, and we'll see what publication we can get that in. Also, I'm going to make some changes to the Adirondack Coast basketball camp. I guess one thing I always want to do is give sneakers to all the campers, and I think it's going to be a one-time thing. It was on my bucket list, and we did it. We were successful with it, but sometimes I felt a lot of kids went to the camp, and I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but just to get the sneakers, and I want you guys to go to the camp to be better players. So we're not going to give the sneakers next year. We're just going to work on basketball, and you'll get an indoor-outdoor basketball, not a leather one. And obviously I give the camp shirt and trophies and posters and stuff like that. So, and also I'm going to be doing away with 3rd and 4th grade so we can have more room. I'm going to raise the price of, because we are a nonprofit, for the coaches. They're going to be getting paid $200 a week. And so those things will definitely help. It'll give us a lot more room. So another thing I want to do, I have individuals that always listen to my show, and they live in Melbourne, Florida. And I just want to say hello to France and Helen. Helen is my niece, and they always critique me after the show. The next shows that are coming up, I'm pretty sure, I haven't got it fully committed yet. I'm pretty sure Tom Brennan, and I'm trying to get him in the studio where he can get phone calls. So I think that might be next week. The following week, it'll be the UVM coach, John Becker, and he is an excellent coach. Tobin Anderson, who's a head coach at Iona, who I used to ref his games when he was at Clarkson. And he just recently recruited a Plattsburgh High School. He signed a Plattsburgh High School player, Logan Rodriguez. So maybe I'll get Logan into our studio when Tobin is here. I'm also trying to I have to get more women, and any suggestions, I'll definitely take them. I want to get Jan Trombley, and because it's Olympic time right now, she is a former Olympian, but I have no idea how to get a hold of her, and if anyone can help me with that and how I can get a hold of Jan Trombley, that would be great. Also, Brenna Ducat just signed with Assumption basketball, and I'd like to get her and Logan on my show. And I also would like to say good luck to a really good kid that I've known since he was so young. Good luck to Nate Parliament. He's leaving for St. John's Fisher Monday night. He'll be the quarterback playing football there. His roommate, believe it or not, is the other freshman quarterback. They're going to be roommates. And, if I were Nate, I already suggested this to him. I would get up really early in the morning and kind of change the quarterback's, his roommate's playbook so he can make some mistakes. But as you know, I'm really kidding on that. Also, my daughter will be leaving for her senior year at New Paltz, and it just seems like she was Irish dancing all over the Northeast. I want her to have fun, and I want her to make the dean's list her last 2 semesters. She's made it, I believe, 4 out of 6 times. So good luck to you, Leah. Love you, miss you. And also, I'd like to talk about sponsoring our shows. I think I'm going to be coming by and talking to a lot of individuals because Wiry is the most listened to radio station north of Albany, and that includes the AM or the FM stations, and that's right in writing, and we can show that. When the Nielsen ratings were out, believe it or not, this show was rated right at the top for Wiry, and I'm not bragging about that because there are a lot of excellent other shows, and the fact that the New York Yankees, there's not a lot of radio stations that cover the New York Yankees, so thank you for Wiry for covering the Yankees for all these years. So what it is for sponsoring, and this isn't bad either, and I talked to Tammy, who's the head of that business part. It's only $650 for 26 spots, and they're 30 seconds, and she will do the commercials for you. You can come in and be with her, or you can even submit something. $650 for 26 30-second spots is pretty good. So please consider that. I probably am going to go, come around to some of you businesses and see if we can sign you up for Wiry, because this station has been here forever. This is just an icon for Plattsburgh. Wiry has been here forever. And don't ever give up on Wiry. They're doing so well. The administration here is excellent, and it's going to be the very best. Once again, there's no doubt it was the best when all the internet stuff wasn't around, but it'll definitely be the best again. So I'd like you guys, you sponsors out there, to at least consider that. So hopefully everyone enjoyed the show today, and thank you so much. And hopefully Tom Brennan will come into the studio where you guys can actually call in, just like he used to have his show, Corman the Coach, on 106 in Vermont. So you'll be able to call in and ask him any questions that you want. So you guys take care of yourself and enjoy your day off today. Thank you. Bye.